basic things that when you're investing, we're going to cover an array of avenues that you can take when you're investing. And we want to make sure that when you leave here today, you have a clear understanding. If you have not started doing anything, you're in the right place. If you're on your way to doing things to create wealth for you in retirement, you're in the right. Children who were members here as well, and through them, we have 3 grandchildren. So when we got married, I moved down here in 1974. I decided to get into the financial service business. It was kind of limited at that time, but now a lot of things are wide open to the general public. So if you're going to stay in the business, you have to stay educated. So I educated myself through the training that was necessary to be a professional. I belong to all of the necessary organizations. And since I brought people into this industry, they had to be trained and supervised properly. That's very important. So what I want to say to you today is that everybody is different. Any strategy that you choose to create wealth is different from the person that's sitting next to you. It is so important for you to be honest with the person that you're going to trust with your finances. Oftentimes, people want to do something, but they do not give you all the information. That's equivalent to having a murder charge and you get an attorney and then you don't tell him what really happened and he can't really defend you. So that's one of the things. Now, with everyone in this room, everyone out there, there is a risk tolerance that you must go through. Some people are very frugal. They don't want to lose a dime. Some people, they just footloose and fancy free. They just let it roll. So somewhere along the line is where you fit. So we're going to touch on the generals of what happens with investing, the modern investing, and then there is the life cycle. Some of us in this room have already gone through the life cycle. The new people, young folk, they don't even understand about the life cycle. They don't know what it is before they get into it. But if you get in investment side, you must understand how the life cycle affects you. So let me ask the audience here, what do you think some of the challenges are when a person is trying to develop wealth? Anyone? Everybody's wealthy? You already been there? What was that? Okay, lack of funds. Anything else? I'm sorry? I can't hear you. Fluctuation in the market or not being able to determine, where to start. You have one for me? Coming up with the initial investment. Yes. Okay, some of those are good, but there's some strong things. We want to talk right now about what's in here, okay, and where you stand when it comes to investments. So when we talk, these are the challenges that most people have. First of all, it's lack of funds. That's the first thing I heard. And if you don't have funds, if you're living from paycheck to paycheck, you got an issue. You're going to have to kind of wait a little while. You have to get stable. Most people have enough money that they can do something. They can start. You need to make a start. The problem is poor money management. And if you don't manage your money properly, you'll never get started. That's equivalent to the young people today. If you ask some of the young folks at 21, 22 years old, just starting, they say, what are your plans? They say, I want to be retired by 31. or 35. Let me ask some of you baby boomers, how did that work for you? It didn't, right? Yeah. Well, it's not impossible, and I commend them for that. But poor managed money, anybody have an example of that? What could cause that? Amazon, overspending. Yes. How about lottery, Miccosukee, those places? Oftentimes, with younger people, you have a situation where they'll buy $80,000 vehicle and still living at home with mama and daddy. So that's an example. So anyway, when you have poor money management, you tend to procrastinate on what you're going to do. So procrastination is one of the problems that we share inside. We put it all for tomorrow, what we're going to do today, what we should do today. And then once you recognize the fact that you are doing that, then you need to be committed to starting a plan, and you have to be disciplined in order to keep that plan. Okay? When we get down to the chart I'm going to show you, there are so many different directions you can go, and you have to find a way to do that. You need a structure. So we'll talk about that. But there's something unexpected that's really a problem and a challenge for every American that wasn't born with a silver spoon in their mouth. And that is the life cycle. Now, some of the older adults in the room may recognize this and say, I didn't know they wrote that down somewhere, because I've been through all of that. So these things are very real, and they affect you and your wealth management and even getting started or keeping the funds that you have. For example, when you reach adulthood and you're ready to get out, if you're doing all the right things that you can do and you're creating some wealth, well, guess what happens? Families, babies come along, okay? And that's wonderful. And you keep doing the things you need to do. But if you're not aware of the life cycle, you cannot keep yourself afloat when these different things come along. For example, you'll build wealth and you're doing very well. You're on your job, you got a 401k, you're doing other things, maybe other investment stocks, maybe purchase some municipal bonds, etc. And then all of a sudden you start seeing your funds drop. They're depleted. Anybody have any idea what that is? What's taking the money away? Let's say you're 45, middle-aged person, you got 3 children, 18, 17, 16, you were busy. Now it's time for these young people, they're going to do, either they're going to go to college, they're going to go to trade school, or they're going to open a business for themselves, or they'll join the military, or they'll just get a job somewhere, and hopefully they move out, okay? But all of those things I just mentioned, joining the military, the only one that'll save you money, okay? Everything else is going to cost you, okay? College tuition, for example, that's going to really cost you big time, and don't let it be out of state. Next, you have aging parents. Okay, so if the baby boomer generation, I can speak because I'm there. I was one, I am one, and the biggest problem with our folks, they were mostly in the service industry. They did domestic work. They worked in factories. They did anything that did not give them an opportunity to excel. And that's due to many different reasons. Some doing because we had the doors locked, you know, and sometimes it's just because they didn't have education or whatever. So they did well. They purchased homes. They're doing fine, but now they're aging. Sometimes it's early dementia. Sometimes it's they don't have enough money coming in to keep up with the rising cost and the taxes, etc. And there could be other health issues that they may run into. So with that in mind, you become their support system. So now you are in what is called the sandwich generation. You're right in between. You got kids in college, and you got an aging parent, and maybe on both sides of your family. And you may have two aging parents with issues that you have to deal with. Thus, you're going to have depletion, and you start seeing the funds go away. So, having said that, you're looking for a way out, and finally, the kids start graduating. They get out of the way, okay? Some magna cum laude, some summa cum laude, and all you hope for is thank you, Lordy. You, you want them out of the way. Now you have newfound money, and you know what you did, and hopefully, our elders are still with us, but somewhere along the way, you might lose them as well. But in this sandwich generation, you'll be taking care of both sides, but now you don't have to do that anymore. And now you can jumpstart your program. And then once you've done that, then you have accumulated the funds, and then you reach the point where you say, I'm done, I'm going to sit down. I just want to maintain what I have. So when you're building wealth, there's some things that you'll see right here. These are the various avenues that you can take. Now, if you want to roll the dice, that's where you are, at the very top. But I want to point out something to you. A sound investment program for you has to have a strong foundation. Okay, if you don't have a strong foundation, the whole thing can topple. So the farther you go up the pyramid, the better your returns can be. Also, they can deplete or disappear just as fast as they grew. So the one thing you must have is a foundation that's going to be with you no matter what happens. Okay? So take, for example, you have in the foundation area, you do have banking products. You have cash value life insurance and fixed annuities and T-bills. So when you're dealing with these items, what do most people think? The growth is not necessarily as fast as they want them to be. But you need these items. You need to have these things because when you move to the next level, you have bonds. They're pretty sturdy. You don't have much problem. But if you want to move on up to real estate investments, some people with real estate, they like to buy property and flip it. Some people want to move every 5 to 7 years and take the equity and move somewhere else and keep the difference. And then there are those who want to rent the property. That's an example right there. And then you have your stocks, mutual funds, etc. Now, if you really have, anybody in here have any of this? Gemstones, gold, silver? All right. Start early. All right. Most young people can flip this upside down because they have time. But the older you get, the more conservative you become. You don't want to have all of your funds in something that you can lose overnight after you build it, took so long to build it. So that's the foundation. So not knowing what the group would be today, I decided to focus on safe investments, things that we have buzzwords for. Anybody heard of tax-free retirement? I know some of you at home have probably heard of tax-free retirement. The reason that came about is through this particular institute product right here, IUL product, which is a life insurance contract. They have been used for a life insurance has been used for a very long time to accumulate for retirement. However, most of the older policies did not really generate much cash. So there was a guy that came along and he said, buy a term, invest the difference, and it took off. And it kind of took the insurance companies into a tizzy fit because what they needed to do was find a way to combat that. And so eventually they came up with an index universal life contract. Very flexible, very sophisticated contract. And come out of that is the tax-free retirement. Some other concepts that you may hear as a buzzword. Has anybody ever heard be your own bank? You've heard that? Yeah. Well, that comes from this same type of contract. When you have a contract like this, you got to be educated on it. It's very, very important that you're educated because when you purchase one of these, a lot of times you get the bells and whistles, but you don't know about the downfalls. Okay. So what's required when you get involved with something like this is, first of all, you have to be educated. If you want to do a concept, for example, like tax-free retirement, these UL policies will allow you to put aside large sums of money under certain restrictions, government guidelines, but you can put a large sum of money away, but a lot of people hear the bells and whistles, so you must beware not to fall for the downfalls. What is that? That same contract, you can skip premiums. And what does that mean? Lack of discipline. Okay, or maybe you had an emergency. You can borrow money from it, put it back, or you could just take a withdrawal. Okay, so if you take a withdrawal, that means you probably never will put it back. It's gone. All right, so now you're starting to defeat the purpose. And if you do that too long, what's going to happen to you is that it's going to run out of funds, and then you really defeated your purpose. So discipline is very, very important. Then on the other side, you have annuities. Now, there are a large array of annuities that are out there. And when you're dealing with the annuities and the life insurance, you have safety of principle. That means that you will not lose your money under most circumstances. You will not lose your funds. And what's very important with these two products is that no creditors can take your funds. They can't take you to court and get the money. They may get your bank accounts. Anybody suing you cannot break into these accounts. That is yours, and they're protected by law. So it's safe from creditors and predators, and in most cases, they're safe from estate tax, which is very important, okay? So for someone starting out, you may want to have what is called a fixed annuity, where you're making deposits, and you continue to make deposits, and at one point you'll have enough, you can graduate to more of a single premium contract that will offer better interest rates for you as well as bonuses. So you have two avenues you can take. You have this deposits as well as a single payment. Now, in this area here, for those of you who have not started, you have qualified plans. Now, what is a qualified plan? A qualified plan is a plan that is set up by the government to allow you to set aside funds from your earnings, and then you let it accumulate tax deferred. You can take it off of your income tax now, or it's not included in your taxes at the time you're into this vehicle. After that, it can accumulate, and then you only pay taxes on what you receive, okay? And that would be later on in life when you're ready to retire. You can take the funds out at that time. If you take it all out, you pay taxes on all of it. But if you create a retirement program where it's going to pay you annually or monthly, then you're only paying on what you receive, okay? Now, there's certain things that are involved with that. For example, in these cases, you need to be 59 and a half years of age before you decide that you want to use these funds that are available to you. If you do that beforehand, there are some substantial penalties that you can pay, which means you're defeating your purpose there. So anything you do in that regard, you want to do that. Now, the qualified plans, anybody have any idea what they are? A Roth? Yeah, a Roth IRAs. Roth IRAs are a little different. You're able, it's qualified, yes. Then there's a 401k, 403b, 457. And then there's, for people who work for themselves, there's a simplified employee pension plan. Now, this is a wonderful thing if you work by yourself, because you can actually add more money into your retirement account and deduct it than you can with an IRA or contributions to a 401k. So if you work, for yourself, it's very important that you do that. If you have a spouse, you can actually include that spouse as well, same percentage. You can, if, for example, there you can put up to $70,000 in 1 year and deduct it from your income tax. So these plans, if you work for an entity that is giving you the ability to enroll in a 401k, I strongly suggest that you do it. If they allow you to have a 403b deduction, IRA deductions, I strongly suggest that you do it. You can also do 401k and an individual IRA. They both have their own limitations. So you'll be in a position to take advantage of all of the avenues that are available to you because you're trying to accumulate. Be mindful of the age 59 and a half. Sometimes people see large funds and they decide to get the big eyes for something they don't need. So if you tap into those sources, it'll cost you. Then we have non-qualified plans. Non-qualified plans are not qualified through the government as tax deductible. That means it's already been taxed. And you cannot mix the two together. So when you have a bank account, savings account, anything like that, that you, even in this pyramid, which we'll revisit again, a lot of those are not qualified plans. You would not be able to invest in gold or silver or diamonds or oil and deduct it from your income tax for retirement purposes. So here we are again. Okay. Most of your accounts, if you're going to do a qualified plan, are right in here with the annuities, the insurance. That those are areas where you can, the 401k, the reason I brought that up is because you have matching funds from your employer. It's an excellent way to do it. There's no reason why you shouldn't do it. So I urge anyone that has that ability to go ahead and take advantage of it. Now, also you have people who are retiring, coming out of retirement. getting ready to retire, and those folks maybe work for, in the case of Florida, they may be under the Florida retirement plan. If you're under the Florida retirement system, they have two ways to retire. One is we'll cash you out and give you a large sum of money. And the other way is we'll pay you a monthly income for the rest of your life. Now, the difference is that the state and most cities, they will allow you to continue to work beyond your normal retirement. So if you want to retire, you can go into what they call the deferred retirement option plan, fondly known as the drop. But you can only stay in there so long. It used to be 5 years. Now I think it's 8 years that you can be in the Florida retirement plan. Now, what does that mean to you? If you're involved in that, first of all, you know you're going to get a check, but it's not while you're working. You stay working, and you're not going to get a check every month until you leave that job. But if you've been there 8 years, that same check you were going to get is being held for you every month. So when you come out, you get a bucket load of money that they're going to hand to you. You have to decide what you're going to do with it, okay? Those are what we call qualified funds. That means that if you receive the money, it's pretty stiff. They'll take immediately 20% out of that. They just send it straight. But most people decide, okay, this is life savings. Let me move this money somewhere where I don't have to pay it. Then we can roll it into what is individual retirement account without you having to pay taxes on it. Now, if you're in that situation, you have to set up a couple of accounts in order to roll the funds out. So when you roll the funds out, you want to roll it one that's going to take care of the older person down the road, and one account that you'll be able to use. But both of them will be IRAs because you want to be able to get it away from the state without paying the 20% taxes on it. So what happens to the tax? You only receive taxes when you take money out. So the money that our parents used to call, you want a pinch on it, you know? So those funds are going to be close to you where you'll be able to go and make withdrawals, move money around any way you need to move it. If you, and the other funds will be somewhere safe to accumulate money for you in the future. Got me on that? Okay. So that is in the qualified fund section. So next, we have many different companies that we work with in this regard on the safe investment side. They have different annuities for different situations, different life insurance contracts for different situations. These are all top-notch companies, and they have special policies that fit different needs. So your advisor would need to know and have access to several different companies in order to make sure they're able to take care of you and give you the right contract. So we have United. They have different type policies as well as Allianz. Allianz happens to be the leading annuity company in the country. They are on fire. They're very stable. And when you invest your funds with them, you know you're going to be okay. They have funds for you that can help you when you are ready to actually take an income. They have a product that will give you a bonus. I didn't come with a lot of charts. It's the only one I got. But these are just samples of that for you folks reaching retirement. This is an actual case. There was an enrollment last 2 years ago. You can't see this number, but I'll tell you what it is. It's $373,000. This was the amount that was set aside to be invested for later on. Okay? The company is so confident, this person receives what is called a 40% bonus. Okay? Now, after 1 year, the contract earned 16.65%. Okay? Now, of that 16.65%, there's an additional 8% that was added to the bonus. Okay? So actually this person in 1 year for their retirement went from $373,000 to $651,000. Another example, we have, this is so new, it doesn't even have a report yet. This just happened. This is a case where it's $131,000 that was deposited in the account. They got so sporty with the 40%, they raised it to 45%. So this person received a 45% bonus, taking it up to $190,000 from day one. From day one. So if you have interest in anything like that or anything that we talked about today and want more information, I didn't want to come and give you information overload. I want to give you a brief overview of how these things work. By the way, this has just been raised to 50%. So they really like what they're doing. That's why they're a leading company. Anyway, so at this moment, as time is moving on, thank you for listening to me. I want to take any questions that you may have on anything that we're discussing. By the way, I did prepare some information for you to take with you.
Yes, sir. I might have been a little late, but my question is Bitcoins. In terms of investment, what kind of return or how would you maneuver such things as Bitcoins? I understand it's the hottest thing out.
Bitcoins is probably where we're going to actually, cryptocurrency, okay, is where we're probably going to wind up in the future. I'm not a big fan of it myself. The idea seemed to have come from somebody who said, well, why don't we have no money? We just do it online. It's digital. I'm old school, so I couldn't grasp that concept. However, a lot of people are investing in cryptocurrency because you're really betting for the future. Okay? Now, if the system collapses, you're up there in a high risk area. If the system collapses, you could lose everything. But if you want to invest in cryptocurrency, that's fine, because just don't let it be everything you got. Yes, ma'am.
Can you go back to where you had you got the 40% bonus? I just want to know, is that the foundational or that is they invested in high stock, aggressive stock?
Okay, no, this is in the foundation. This is an annuity product, okay? Wow. So the funds here you cannot lose. Once they have been increased, you will not lose it unless you decide that you want to opt out too soon. It's not like you can jump in, get a 40% bonus and jump out. Doesn't work that way. They do have to have some restrictions. But yes, you're safe. Nobody could take that money from you.
Wow.
Yes.
In terms of investing for grandchildren, what do you advocate? I'm looking at Alliance. I like the
How old?
information.
How old are they? You mean babies?
No, 10 and 9.
Okay.
And there are
Babies.
things in place, but I like the Alliance and what information you can give on the Alliance for grandchildren.
I do not recommend annuities
Right,
for children.
exactly.
All right, because once you invest in an annuity, whether it's so you have two types. You have a qualified annuity and a non-qualified. Okay, so if you invest the money, it's going to be non-qualified. However, all annuities have a clause in it that says that if you get out with 459 and a half, you're going to have to pay a penalty. And of course, you may want to use that 8-9 years down the road, help them through college or something like that. So I would not recommend an annuity. Okay, so you may use other products with other institutions, maybe through the bank or what have you, that you will not have those penalties.
I'm not necessarily anti the Florida prepaid program. I mean, it's a good idea. But I think in this particular lifetime and all of the availabilities we have as African Americans, I think we can do a little bit better. That's not to say the prepaid plan is not good. But when there are options available, my concern is, what would you recommend? I understand annuities, no, but are there any other options?
Well, there are the possibilities in the IUL policy that I talked about, because you are able to accumulate wealth in there and you won't be penalized when you just later on in life you decide you want to take the funds out that has accumulated in that contract. It's not a 10% penalty or anything like that involved. I personally like the Florida prepaid because for this life cycle that we're talking about, and when your kids get older, you need help. Otherwise, you're going to start depleting the fund that you have, unless you've been very blessed and your income is high. If you're a high income earner, you may not have a problem at all. But let's say there is a problem if they decide to go to another state. So that can be an issue for you, because the other states have to be able to say, yes, we'll take it. But if they're out-of-state student, then that's going to be extra. You pay almost double. So it'll eat up what was supposed to be for 4 years will get eaten up in about a half a year. Okay?
I'm familiar with the pre-plan. I know about going to out-of-state colleges.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, if a child has academic ability, they usually get a full ride. So I'm cognizant of that. And the Florida prepaid can be used to travel. So that has worked.
It can be given back to you, refunded, yes.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But my concern today is there are so many options out there that I am not cognizant of. I have some things I'm aware of. And I came tonight to see what other options are available to enhance grandchildren who prayerfully will be academically continued gifted to go to school on a free ride and use savings to travel or expand their knowledge.
Some of the options that are available when they're minors can't be in their names. So that's a problem, okay? I'll give you an example of what we did personally to make sure that things worked well for us. That universal life policy had come out when our children were little, and we loaded up on it, big policies. and we paid those premiums. So when the time came for them to go to college, all I had to do was make a withdrawal every time it came. So, but a lot of times you can't do that on the child. You have to do it on yourself. Experience is another thing. I've seen so many people invest money and somehow it's in the child's name and they don't go to college, or they get with the wrong crowd, and you lose control of everything you intended for them to have.
Well, I think the wisdom is to put it in parents' name.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Now it gets to that point. So I
Mhm.
understand that. I guess I'm continually to trying to search and see what else is out there that
Mhm.
I've not been exposed to.
Well, you can invest in any of these things along the way. As I mentioned earlier, as you move up the pyramid, the greater your return may be. It's just a matter of which one would be best suited for you and what you can do. By the way, any of these things in investments that you want to do, there's a suitability that is required, okay? You can't just buy certain things if it's not suitable, because you can start and quit, or you can start and lose your funds. So it's always some fact finding that has to be done, and it's always a budget that is needed to make sure that you're able to do what you're really trying to do. Because a lot of people aren't as blessed as you, but they want to do the same thing. So any of these items here can be used to accumulate the funds that you can use later. Just don't make it a qualified plan. Right. Mhm. Young lady?
Thank you, Mr. Webb, for your presentation. So the question I have is that I have multiple vehicles to build my retirement now, but in this particular situation from a previous employer, I rolled over my 401k and it split because half of it was Roth and then the other rolled over into a traditional IRA. But if I am not qualified to contribute to a Roth because I make too much, it's just sitting there. So the question I have is, what recommendation do you have to do with those funds that are just sitting in my Roth IRA?
Well, the Roth IRA, you have to has certain conditions for you to
Right.
receive the funds as well.
Right.
So it is there, and it's kind of in a frozen state.
Right.
Yes. Now, as for the 401k funds, you rolled them to a traditional IRA?
So the way it was set up it was both. The employer, the 401k was half of it was going to a Roth at the time and then into a 401k. So when I rolled it over, it split. So they gave me two accounts, one for IRA and then one for a Roth. But now in the position I'm in now, I make too much, so I can't contribute to the Roth. And so it's like, well, I want it to continue to grow, so do I put it into an annuity until I'm 59 and a half and I want to touch it, since that's just the one bucket that I have, or is there any other recommendation?
Are you self-employed?
I'm not self-employed.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay. And they don't have the 401k anymore?
My new employer? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Roth 401k with my new employer.
But you can still have the other.
Yes, I still have the other
Mhm.
one. But I didn't want to put that into,
The 401k?
right,
Okay.
right.
Are you interested in the fact that you're trying to reduce your taxes at this point?
Yes.
Okay, well, you're going to need one of those qualified plans to participate in.
Right. So that's why I contribute to the IRA that I have, but I didn't know if it made a difference if I should do both or.
Well, if you do the traditional IRA, you can contribute up to a certain amount. Now, I have a
Right.
chart that I'm going to give you,
Okay.
okay? And if they ever go back, well, the 401k is a Roth, you say?
Yes, the one
Okay.
I have with my new employer. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So you can do a traditional IRA.
Right.
Mhm.
Which I do have. I do
Okay.
have.
Yeah,
So, okay.
all right.
What are your thoughts on investing in gold coins? I hear a lot of that right now.
I think it's good as long as you can afford to do it. You know, the gold is on the rise. You know, and now's a good time to invest in it if you're going to do it.
Now, and the person that was talking, they said in order to get your money out of gold, you have to pay something. I don't know what happens to the gold coin.
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Good evening.
Hey.
You were saying that with the annuity, like the Allianz and stuff, even though they're giving you that 40% or whatever, you can't take it out right away. It has to
No.
be there for a little while. But how long? What is the length of time?
Well, if you're young, you're going to need to wait till you're 59 and a half.
No, but what if you've passed the 59?
If you're older, then that particular program is a 10-year program. Okay? But now you just don't jump in there without knowing what you're doing, because you have to have a fact finder done. We have to make sure that you last, everything is moving along during that period of time. And then after it moves along, now you're in position because of inflation, you're older, you're not doing anything else to try to earn any funds, and that's when this kicks in. So in the case of the young lady there that I showed you, she's 10 years from now, it went to 651,000. 10 years from now, who knows what it may be, but we know it won't be less. Okay? So she almost doubled her funds, okay, in 1 year. So it'll be exciting to see what happens this year when a report comes out, which comes out once a year.
So
Oh, by the way, we did talk about annuities being very stable. There is a variable annuity and a variable life insurance contract. That will allow you to take advantage of some of the marketplace through mutual funds, and you're sharing with the company some of the risk. So if everything is good, it will yield you more in your cash return. If it's bad, you lose. So that's one case where it will reduce. If you lose, if you're in a variable product.
okay. So if I join that annuity today,
Mm-hmm.
when am I qualified to get that extra 40%?
Well, it's all designed to 10 years down the road where it could take care
10
of you.
years. So
Yes.
10 years time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Another question, I don't know if you have any information on this. It's about passing on whatever you have in terms of like real estate to a child or a niece or whatever. Is there a difference between doing a will and doing like a trust? Like, because I've heard that if you do a will for a niece, say a niece, by the time they go to probate, they have to pay so much that they probably won't even be able to afford the house.
Exactly.
So what's the alternative?
Trust would be better.
The trust. Okay.
Yes. It's going to bypass probate.
Okay, great, thank you.
The thing about the trust is you got to make sure you're willing to turn over the ownership to the trust.
Okay. Got it.
And it depends on who your trustee is.
Thank
Has
you.
to be a very reliable person
Right.
because they'll have total control.
On that note, what's this thing about Lady Bird when you're talking about dealing with the residents, your house, and you want to turn it over to your child? Is Lady Bird appropriate?
I'm not familiar with the term, but you can turn property over to your children early. And there are different ways to do that. You need to be involved with a real estate attorney to
Okay.
make sure you don't get yourself in any trouble.
Oh, this is the question. This is my second question I had. I know we're talking about personal advancement and personal achievement, but in terms of the church, are there any products that the church can participate in to promote growth for the whole entire church? Traditionally, especially the black church, they relied on savings account. And when they turned around to do some things, that interest or that money hadn't gotten up there yet. So are there some products that the church can, as a whole, to represent the people, can participate in?
Well, there are a couple of things that come to mind. First of all, if the church is a business side, that's the entity, and they have a right to go and invest in certain ways that they want. I've seen churches build apartments, they build townhouses. Personally, I don't like the church being in rental business, because how do you evict somebody and you're supposed to be helping people? That's just a personal opinion, okay? But you can do that. There's also the charitable giving, if you have members that want to do that as well. But the trustees in the church would have to be the ones to make those decisions on how can we make this money grow, okay? And those avenues are available to them.
I'm asking your opinion. I gave Destiny a lump sum and had her to invest it, and I'm making her do it aggressively, and I make her give a certain amount of money to it. Do you recommend that? She's 24.
You
And I'm
gave
telling you, you
someone-
don't need to touch it for 50 years. And I make her do it aggressively
So she is young.
in stocks. Yeah, 24.
Why not? This is the time. Because first thing is, if it's
She cry
aggressive.
every
if it-
month, though.
Yeah, if it's aggressive and you run into a situation where it loses your funds, she's young enough to start over. I may not recommend that for somebody 60 years old.
No, she's 24.
Yeah, but when you're young, that's the time to do it, you know. Any other questions? I think we're just a few minutes away from closing out. Well, I thank you, and I'm always available. I have some information that I prepared for you. I'm sorry. Yes, I can be reached at 786-587-7380. That's a direct line to me, as well as my email address is Carlyle, CARLYLE .webb@gmail.com.
When you set up a situation for a young person, she said 24, they gain control. You don't have control of that account, right?
It depends on, if it's an adult, more than likely they'll have control.
she said
But
she's
you can have special arrangements because you can, do something for somebody and you still be the owner. Thank you once again, everybody.
Thank you, Brother Webb. As we prepare, he does have information that is coming out to you now. So we do thank Brother Webb again for his presentation. So we do have food for you to take. So we are going to bless the food, do the benediction. Lord, we thank you for this food that has been prepared. We ask, God, that you will sanctify it to be nourishments to our bodies. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Our benediction, now unto him that is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we could ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us. Unto him be glory in the church by Christ Jesus throughout all ages, world without end. Have a good